With the Minnesota Vikings season unfortunately ending, now it's time to look ahead towards next season. And the Vikings are very veteran-laden, and when it comes to veterans, usually there's some pretty large contracts involved. And the Vikings are going to be up pretty snug against the 2023 salary cap. Currently, projection-wise, they're about $8 million in the hole. But, of course, hashtag cap's a myth, because but the Vikings will need to find a little bit of extra dough for a potential Justin Jefferson blockbuster extension, potentially extending TJ Hawkinson, as well as hopefully re-signing Diesel Dalvin Tomlinson. Lots of things going on. Ooh, also re-signed Duke Shelley one time, man. But, yeah, I mean, it sort of is what it is, and this happens every single year with every single team. Sometimes veteran players just have to go. I mean, sometimes they're just not worth the cap number that they're going to be earning. So going through a couple of these. So Za'Darius was fantastic the first half of the season, got dinged up, was sort of whatever the second half, as well as the playoff game. But he's due a $9.45 million base salary with very little guaranteed. So the Vikings could actually save up around $12 million in cap. He is the number one potential cap casualty, where, I mean, I would like to have Za'Darius back, sure, but at a lower price, potentially. But, of course, I think that he could hit free agency and get himself paid. Eric Kendricks is going to be an interesting one. So he's due a $9.15 million base salary, only $1.93 million dead, so they can save around $9.5 million by moving on from Kendricks. So in back-to-back off seasons, completely moving on from the linebacking core that had been the staple for the Vikings since 2014-2015, where they moved on from Anthony Barr last year. They could move on from Kendricks this offseason. And then, of course, you got Harrison Smith, which Dalvin. 0% chance that Dalvin earns his $10.4 million base salary because, Kwesi's from the New Age analytics style where you don't spend money on running back. So the Vikings could cut Dalvin Cook and save around $7.9 million in cap. Harrison, this one hurts, man, because Harrison, he looked good at times this year. Also, he looked at times this year, did have 5 interceptions, but $14.7 million base salary. Probably not going to see that. Could shave around $7.5 million off the salary cap. Same thing with Thielen, even though they'd have to eat a little bit of dead cap. Maybe he could be a June 1st, post-June 1st cut candidate where they'd save around $6.4 million. Hicks, 0% chance that he's seeing his base salary. So Vikings could get around $5 million in cap space, as well as CJ Ham. I don't know about CJ Ham because if O'Connell still wants to utilize a fullback, it makes sense to keep CJ. I think that he played pretty well this year. He could be also a candidate to be squeezed to reduce his base salary, usually right before the start of the season. That's how NFL GMs tend to roll. But, I mean, the Vikings, even though they are facing some uphill issues with the cap. The cap is always fungible. You can always kick the can down the road, and the Vikings could actually, instead of kicking the can down the road, actually make some really tangible savings by cutting some of these veterans or reworking some of these deals. So change, the only constant is change, and unfortunately the Vikings, some very familiar faces, some future Ring of Honor guys, some all-time legendary Vikings are probably going to be elsewhere next season. Or at least certainly not back at this number, but we'll see what happens. Anyways, your thoughts are thoughts. Looking at potential Vikings veterans salary cap casualties. Let us know your thoughts and our thoughts in the comment section below. Subscribe for daily Vikings takes. Want to support the work? Put a little something in the Venmo. But till next time, Skull Production Value.